Welcome to the chaos sector. I see some have come to Get a Clue's defense, that's fine. But let's touch on a few things, because it definitely needs to be addressed. Many claim that Get a Clue is actually fighting for Kohberger, and all he was doing was pointing out that the white Hyundai Elantra had been spotted only once in that Linda Lane surveillance. I'll let that sit for a moment before I tear into it. Did you not hear what this person said in that video? He said he was examining the surveillance to prove Kohberger was guilty. No matter how you spin that, such as saying, oh, he was covering all the bases, no, stop. He didn't say he was examining the surveillance to see if what others claimed was Kohberger's vehicle was true. That's the implicit difference. You're just examining what could possibly be the case, and it would obviously lead to a conclusion. He said he was examining it to prove Kohberger was guilty. Doesn't sound like someone who believes Kohberger is innocent, now does it? Let's examine some of these comments because I don't think they're seeing the wolf right in front of them. Go figure. Quote, he's proving the point that it's not BK's vehicle, unquote. Quote, he believes Kohberger is innocent, always has, unquote. Quote, it's not just that it was identified as a Chrysler 300, but the fact that the PCA is claiming it was a Hyundai Elantra. That's all I believe he was trying to point out. Unquote. Quote, exactly. He's trying to point out it's not BK circling the building at that time. Unquote. Quote, Get a Clue does not have to explain what the 300 driver's purpose was if he doesn't feel inclined to. Who are you to prescribe how someone has to feel or act? Also, Get a Clue is strongly of the opinion that Kohberger is innocent. In the very least, Streak establishes that there was no Elantra circling numerous times. This is exculpatory for the accused. Unquote. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news here, but the white Hyundai Elantra is still there, my friends, based on Get a Clue's claims. So either be spotted 1 time or 10 times, it does not matter. And the problem you guys are completely overlooking is the white Hyundai Elantra is physically present in the Linda Lane surveillance, exactly at the time the alleged Kohberger would be heading to the home. That's the estimated time of intrusion. So what are you really proving? A futile element of semantics, and that doesn't look good on all of you. I know you're smarter than that to deduce the perspective of that footage, to how many times the vehicle was spotted or not. If the alleged Kohberger got in and got out within 10 minutes, does it take 4 to 5 times to circle those apartments? Think about what you're saying right now. And trust me, Get a Clue is well aware of that dynamic. Don't fall for some so-called evidential analysis that still keeps Kohberger in the neighborhood and near the victim's home. Get a Clue is dedicated to prove that Kohberger was spotted only once in the surveillance, and that one time has him heading towards the home, stabbing 4 victims and leaving within 10 minutes. Oh, but at least Get a Clue proved that his vehicle was spotted only once and not the 4 or 5 times. Come on now, you're smarter than that. To the person mentioning that he doesn't have to explain what the Chrysler 300's purpose was, you're right. But see, that's the semantics game I'm talking about. If the chaos were to examine that, many would ask, what are your thoughts on that Chrysler 300? We asked, what were his thoughts about the vehicle? It was in the original post, but we challenged it as well, based on our own theory about the Linda Lane surveillance. Nothing wrong with a challenge now and then, keeps you sharp, makes you correct errors, and also improves your work. But because he responded in a passive-aggressive manner, yes, that's what it was, well, now we demand he give us an opinion on it. See, many forget, Get a Clue took shots at us for simply inquiring about the Chrysler 300 he claimed was in the footage. And to be honest, he sounded a bit triggered as well. He kind of got triggered, right? It sounded like someone who claims to not really watch the chaos actually has been wanting to speak about the chaos for quite some time, and then it happened, he snapped. All of what he wanted to voice to the chaos came out in that video. But it took us to make him speak out, using that post as a way to criticize. You see, that's that wolf in sheep's clothing, the manipulative ways of Get a Clue. Instead of just making a video criticizing the chaos, he made it appear he was responding to an alleged call-out from us, when all we were doing was inquiring about the actions of the alleged Chrysler 300. See, this is the problem with these snoopers. We watch others, and we leave comments, sharing our thoughts about the subject matter. Don't bother us, we won't bother you. Share our thoughts together. even have debates that get better as investigators. The chaos is not one category, but we do embrace those within the true crime community, at a distance, of course. But we never attack someone unless we've been attacked, or, to be honest, someone needs to be called out for manipulating supporters. You have to nip that in the bud, because it can lead to, well, this shit. We never insulted Get a Clue in that post. We never claimed his claims were stupid or not logical. We just simply pondered about the claim, in connection to the time frame and relevance of that person in the neighborhood. But we have wild speculations that are basically lacking any form of investigative ethics. We conflate theories with evidential analysis. We just assume things without any logical reason. These are attacks against us and our investigative work ethic. Now, what wild speculation have we ever presented? An example of a wild speculation is Bethany saw a naked man running through the sliding doors. That's a wild speculation. Or the victim's body parts were sold to an organ harvesting ring. Or Kaylee and Maddie were actually dating. Or Ethan was a pay-for-play boy toy. Or Bethany and Koberger had a little something going on, and that's her exculpatory evidence. Well, that's not so wild, to be honest, but you get the point. The rest of that is wild gossip and rumors thrown out there, contaminating everything about the case. We have never presented anything of the sort, yet we're the ones throwing wild speculations out here. It's basically saying that we don't deserve to even be acknowledged. It's okay for Get a Clue to take those shots, but when we take shots, oh, now we're going overboard or being childish or self-entitled. No, you take shots, be prepared to receive shots. As the saying goes, don't throw rocks if you live in a glass house. If he spotted a white Hyundai Elantra, whose vehicle is that? Oh, nobody knows, right? That's the airheaded game we're playing now? So I guess the white Hyundai Elantra is someone else, right? Now you know that Get a Clue claims that's Koberger, so how does he fight for Koberger or believe he's innocent? When he mentioned his speculations, he stated that he believed multiple people were involved, and Dylan and Bethany may have something to do with it, or at least know more. These are obvious. That's an echo chamber. We want to know, what are your speculations about the very surveillance you're examining? He even suggests that the Ford Fusion would have seen Koberger arriving and leaving, so he's placing Koberger there. Did you notice when we presented the time frame of the unmarked cruiser being 3:15 a.m. to 3:30 a.m., he didn't really throw that away? He said, okay, but the unmarked cruiser, etc. Now look at that. He said, okay, as it's possible. But how is it possible? If you claim the vehicle was the Chrysler 300, your brain wouldn't even acknowledge it as a possibility because it's physically impossible based on your claims. Do you see this shit? He's allowing the possibility of it being the unmarked cruiser from the time frame of 3:30 a.m. to 4:07 a.m. And there you have it. He unconsciously accepted that as a possibility while simultaneously claiming it was 3 vehicles spotted. Oh, he was just giving the scenario a hypothetical. Nope, not going to save him. You don't give a hypothetical scenario of something that's physically impossible based on your claims. Let's hear it again.
The police cruiser was just there about 15 minutes ago after wrapping up those citations. If you mean 15 minutes ago, as in 3:15, and you're starting this at 3:30, yeah, okay.
What does the statement, yeah, okay, mean here? Spoiler alert, it's not a sarcastic response or reaction. I'll tell you what it means. It means he is weighing the most logical scenarios out in his brain, of it being the unmarked cruiser in a time frame that he so-called 100% has proven is the Chrysler 300. How is this possible? I would tell you to get a clue, but you should ask him instead.
But remember, this police cruiser was also on its way to another call shortly thereafter at 4-something. I forget what it was, 4:17, 4:15, 4:12, something to that effect.
Now this would be his brain in action. He was posed a scenario, he thought about it, then was convinced that it wasn't the unmarked cruiser based on there being a 911 call soon after. Why, and how for that matter, is he even rationalizing this scenario as a possibility? Don't give that, oh, he's just entertaining the thought, because he would have been triggered at the so-called wild speculation and flat-out irrational and impossible scenario chaos has presented. He would have said something like, what the fuck, man, you're totally wrong, you don't know what you're talking about. Now he did rant about that, but here, once we got to the segment where he claimed to spot a Ford Fusion, his tone completely changed. It went from assertive to apprehensive. I wonder why.
So it couldn't have been both places at once.
I have a hypothetical for him, Or, better yet, those who are defending him. What if there wasn't a 911 call? Could the unmarked cruiser be in that place during that 3:30 a.m. time frame? The one he claims was the Chrysler 300. Just kind of tweaked it a bit to pull out the deception.
So I would think if the Ford Fusion,
yeah, caught you red-handed, buddy. How did we catch him red-handed? He combined his response to the claim that it was the unmarked cruiser being spotted from 3:30 a.m. to 4:07 a.m. with the statement about the Ford Fusion would have been only spotted at 4:07 a.m. and then rambled on about that scenario with the white Hyundai Elantra. Oh yeah. See, when people stutter a lot and it's not an actual medical condition, obviously they're pathological liars. I want to have the entire segment played together and notice the shift in focus regarding the Ford Fusion / unmarked police cruiser. This has become very entertaining, I must say, spotting a liar.
the police cruiser was just there about 15 minutes ago after wrapping up those citations. If you mean 15 minutes ago, as in 3:15, and you're starting this at 3:30, yeah, okay. But remember, this police cruiser was also on its way to another call shortly thereafter at 4 something. I forget what it was, 4:17, 4:15, 4:12, something to that effect. So it couldn't have been both places at once. So I would think if the Ford Fusion, that I identify as a Ford Fusion, circled this neighborhood at 4:07, one of the things I said, it would had to have crossed paths with the Hyundai Elantra.
Did you catch that shift? Oh my fucking, please tell me you guys caught that shift of focus. Let me spell it out anyway. He starts out addressing the time frame of 3:30 a.m., possibly being when the unmarked cruiser, or Ford Fusion, was spotted in the surveillance. He is questioning himself at this point, I might add, that's the main issue, but goes on to give possible reasons why it's not the Ford Fusion spotted at 3:30 a.m. to 4:07 a.m. In fact, he jumped to focusing on 4:07 a.m. entirely. Oh, he's a piece of work, I tell you, but you've just been terminated. He is within the scenario of it possibly being a Ford Fusion, then leapfrogs to focusing on the Ford Fusion spotting the Hyundai Elantra. Now, mind you, this is all within the same possibility of the Ford Fusion being spotted earlier. Again, he is still analyzing the scenario because at no point did he refute the possibility of it being the unmarked cruiser. We know he's still acknowledging it as a possibility. He tries to claim the unmarked cruiser had a 911 call approximately around 4:15 a.m. But very well that doesn't prevent it from being physically right there in the Linda Lane surveillance. So that's a very weak rebuttal, better yet, a futile attempt to deny the truth. But if you're suggesting it's not the unmarked cruiser yet, it's the same make and model of the unmarked cruiser, well, you're just not being honest, sir. And this entire, quote, evidential analysis has only magnified our points prior. And then he realizes, wait a minute, I'm actually contradicting my own claims. He cunningly shifts to focusing on whether the Ford Fusion would have spotted the Hyundai Elantra. But he had nowhere to run to because he even ran into a brick wall with that scenario. Wow, it's bonkers. Are you guys grasping what's happening here? Let's play it one more time. I just broke it down, so you should be able to follow the moment the shift comes in.
The police cruiser was just there about 15 minutes ago after wrapping up those citations. If you mean 15 minutes ago, as in 3:15, and you're starting this at 3:30, yeah, okay. But remember, this police cruiser was also on its way to another call shortly thereafter at 4 something. I forget what it was, 4:17, 4:15, 4:12, something to that effect. So it couldn't have been both places at once. So I would think if the Ford Fusion, that I identify as a Ford Fusion, circled this neighborhood at 4:07, one of the things I said, it would had to have crossed paths with the Hyundai Elantra, with the white Hyundai Elantra. It would have crossed the paths of the white Hyundai Elantra, both coming into the neighborhood and leaving the neighborhood, in my opinion. So that makes you go, because that's...
Here's the shift. It's not about the 4:07 a.m. and some so-called 911 calls. That happened after the goddamn fact. It's about the 3:30 a.m. to 4:07 a.m. time frame. And this is where he shuffled his feet away from. He used that to claim the vehicle wasn't there at an earlier time, approximately 35 to 40 minutes earlier. See, he should have listened to those who told him to check the chaos out. Then he wouldn't have made that mistake. He would have acknowledged the valid inquiry we had and responded in a post accordingly. He tried to discredit the chaos, and now look what has happened. This episode is even worse than the last one. Let's keep drilling this home. If someone asks, get a clue, was the unmarked cruiser or Ford Fusion there from 3:30 a.m. to 4:07 a.m., he would say no, because it couldn't be in two places at the same time due to there being a 911 call about 4:15 a.m. That person would say, That's not the time frame in question, sir. I'm asking about the 3:30 a.m. to 4:07 a.m. time frame, not after. Do you understand? He would shuffle his feet away from the time frame in question, just like in our post. If Get a Clue flat out deflected from that time frame and vehicle in question, how is he somehow claiming that the Chrysler 300 was the vehicle spotted from 3:30 a.m. to 4:07 a.m.? He would simply respond in saying, no, that Ford Fusion was not there during that time frame. Oh, but he did, right? And here we go again in circles. Why use the 911 call as not only a deflection from the 3:30 a.m. to 4:07 a.m. time frame, but also to even look into that possibility? Translation here, a bunch of confusion. He's addressing it as if he isn't sure what vehicle is there, and he would have saved himself a lot of problems if he would have just accepted that there is no empirical evidence to prove either vehicle was spotted. What made him look into the Chrysler 300 in the first place? Oh, it goes back to one of those video tours, right? He spotted it parked and had a thought. He first assumed that it was possible that vehicle was circling the apartments, examined the Linda Lane surveillance, and came to the conclusion it was the same vehicle. There's nothing wrong with that. It's his opinion. He has every right to that opinion. But the problem comes in when you start adding other vehicles into that surveillance, like the alleged killer's vehicle, and even a Ford Fusion, which is the same make and model of the unmarked cruiser that night. All three of these vehicles are there within the same time frame. And also, what time would the Hyundai Elantra actually get there? If it's not the time frame the media claims Kohberger arrived, then if it's Kohberger as you claim but not claim at the same time, when did he get there? If not the time of 3:29 a.m., which would be when the alleged Chrysler 300 circles the apartments. Oh, you don't know when the Elantra got there. For the record, using a so-called 911 call approximately at 4:15 a.m. doesn't debunk, refute, wildly deny, reject the possibility that the unmarked cruiser was there circling Queen Road Apartments from 3:30 a.m. to 4:07 a.m. That's what we claimed in the post, and his so-called debunking of that claim gave him the feet shuffling award of the year. Yet he was so adamant in his response video? How is this possible? The Jedi mind trick. No offense, but people are duped by how passionate someone may sound or how dedicated they present themselves. And in that very video, at that very moment of feet shuffling, they were oblivious to the deception. It's unfortunate they didn't see the clues. This is the chaos sector. Oh wait, I almost forgot. If someone has approximately 5,500 subscribers and they request those subscribers to donate $1,113.22, even if 100 of those subscribers donated that amount, somebody is sitting on a nice chunk of cash. And what if there were more subscribers donating? Now, what has this person done to deserve someone's hard-earned money? It's not like you've cracked the case or something. They won't even give a damn theory about the suspicious Chrysler 300 they claim circled the apartments. Wow. Yeah, wow. Get a Clue is giving mixed signals to his audience, and that's the problem. Presenting clickbait thumbnails to draw people in based on the subconscious messaging of the thumbnail. What do you expect from someone with channel name of Get a Clue? For example, his response video. He titles the video, Brian Kohberger, Alley Cat. Now, this is referring to the alleyway of Queen Road Apartments. So, of course, he is claiming that Kohberger had driven around those apartments, I guess, hanging around near the alley before murdering those housemates. But he would simultaneously state he doesn't think Kohberger committed the crime, or is not sure, or believe multiple people were involved. If that's not enough, the video is not even about Kohberger. It's about the chaos. You see? I guess he tried to hide his attack upon us by presenting the vid as being about Kohberger. Yep, there's that manipulative wolf again, thinking he could go on a rant to his audience or supporters, and it would stay within that circle. Well, nobody came back and notified us about it. It was predetermined karma, buddy. We just so happened to click on that video. Might want to make those sneak diss videos private. He's all over the place, yet he speaks as if he has everything in the bag. If we were to give him the benefit of the doubt and just say he doesn't know which vehicles were spotted, and surely doesn't even know if Kohberger was there, not to toot our own horn, but he definitely wouldn't be in the position to criticize the chaos. We had no problems with Get a Clue beforehand. He was neutral. But wolves aren't neutral. They either run in packs amongst themselves, or they're a lone wolf who does whatever to survive. And I mean, whatever. In conclusion, get a clue deflected from that time frame because his own claims of spotting a Ford Fusion was the biggest crack in his, theory or hypothesis or assumption or evidential analysis or whatever he is claiming to present to his audience. Claiming to spot a Ford Fusion is alluding to, know a better term, hinting at it being the unmarked cruiser, but he wants to take credit for it by claiming he literally identified it. You see, this type of narcissism. At the same time, though, is somewhat denying it's the unmarked cruiser because the chaos claims it's the same vehicle through the entire time frame. Hey, wait a minute, I want to take credit for spotting the unmarked cruiser. Okay, sure. No, wait, it's just a Ford Fusion. I can't claim it's the unmarked cruiser. Oh, okay, do you mind if we claim it then? Fuck no, that's wild and outrageous speculation. Stop doing that. Huh? But you just identified a Ford Fusion, which is the same make and model of the unmarked cruiser driven by Moscow PD that same night. I mean, surely you yourself would assume it's the same vehicle, right? Of course not. I don't have enough information to make that assessment.